Beowulf is often called the beginning of English literature, but it is far more than a starting point on a syllabus. It is a poem that preserves the emotional and moral world of an age that had no written history of its own. Composed in Old English sometime between the 8th and early 11th centuries, Beowulf survives in a single fragile manuscript. Its very survival feels symbolic. Like the world it describes, it stands against time, erosion, and forgetting. The poem was written in England, yet its story unfolds in Scandinavia among the Danes and the Geats. This distance matters. It shows that the Anglo-Saxons were looking back to an ancestral heroic past, shaping old oral legends into a written form. Scholars widely agree that the story circulated orally for generations before it was written down by a Christian scribe. As a result, the poem carries two belief systems at once. Pagan warrior values such as honor, vengeance, and fame exist alongside Christian ideas of divine judgment, humility, and the limits of human power. At its simplest level, Beowulf tells the story of a hero who fights three monsters. First comes Grendel, a creature who attacks the Danish hall of Heorot and represents chaos, exile, and resentment. Beowulf defeats him with his bare hands, rejecting weapons to prove that courage and strength come from within. The second battle, against Grendel's mother, is darker and more unsettling. Beowulf descends into an underwater world where familiar rules no longer apply. Victory here is uncertain and hard-won, suggesting that some evils are deeply rooted and costly to confront. The final battle occurs many years later, when Beowulf is an aging king who faces a dragon threatening his people. He succeeds, but he dies in the process, and the poem closes not with celebration, but with grief and fear for the future. What makes Beowulf enduring is not the monsters themselves, but what they reveal about human life. Grendel embodies social alienation and uncontrolled violence. The dragon represents time, greed, and the inescapable approach of death. Beowulf's strength is extraordinary, yet the poem never allows us to forget that strength fades. Even the greatest hero cannot escape mortality. This acceptance of limits gives the poem its quiet seriousness. Heroism in Beowulf is closely tied to responsibility. As a young warrior, Beowulf seeks glory, but as a king, his duty is to protect his people, even when the cost is his own life. The poem suggests that true greatness lies not in endless victory, but in knowing when sacrifice is necessary. This idea sets Beowulf apart from many modern heroic narratives where survival itself is treated as success. The language of the poem reinforces its themes. Written in alliterative verse, Beowulf relies on rhythm, repetition, and vivid compound expressions known as kennings, such as whale road for the sea. These techniques reflect its oral origins and give the poem a grave, ceremonial tone. It sounds like memory being shaped into meaning rather than entertainment meant to distract. Beowulf also offers a meditation on leadership and legacy. The poem repeatedly reminds us that halls will fall, kings will die, and songs will fade. What remains is reputation and the moral weight of one's actions. Beowulf's funeral scene is especially telling. His people mourn not only the man, but the uncertainty that follows his absence. Leadership, the poem implies, is fragile, and peace depends on character as much as power. More than 1,000 years after it was composed, Beowulf still feels relevant because it speaks honestly about human limits. It does not promise victory without loss or strength without cost. Instead, it shows a world where courage matters precisely because life is brief. In this way, Beowulf is not simply an old heroic poem. It is a reflection on what it means to act with dignity in the face of inevitable decline, and that is why it continues to be read, studied, and felt.